So I know why you're here. Today's a siege day and you went to hit an Odin with the typical Tesarion Triana water monster, and Odin immediately killed your Triana, banged your mom, and now he's your new daddy. You're saying enough is enough, I'm tired of the shitty RNG, I'm gonna go to the internet to figure out ways to get Odin out of my mom's bedroom. Well, fellow summoner, you've come to the right place. Today we're gonna talk about how you can kill Odin without spamming a ton of Trianas.
It's no secret by now that Triana is one of the best skilled and siege units ever made, both on offense and defense. Similarly, Odin quickly became one of the best siege units upon his release, eventually leaving the meta but making a huge comeback because of his buff that guarantees attribute advantage when he's at 5 stacks. This somewhat simple buff greatly nerfs the Tesarion Triana water offense that was the prominent counter to Khmun Bastet Odin originally. Now that there's a 33% chance for him to kill your Triana turn 1, leaving you in a 2v3 scenario at the start of the match, the safest counters don't give him the chance. This is not to say that Tesarion Triana X counters don't work. In fact, they still work quite well, especially if the water unit happens to be Nana. Nana is just kind of busted and makes it so that even if Odin kills Triana turn 1, you're not that worried about it since she comes right back anyways, giving your Tesarion the opportunity to do Tesarion things, and thus giving you more Nana revive action. Other water monsters you can use in place of Nana are Annabelle, Elucia, Praha, and Lulu, to name a few, but I think those are the strongest behind Nana. Other Triana type counters you can attempt, though I did not have much luck with in testing, are Khmun Darien Triana or Karkano Chloe Triana. These both sound solid to me on paper, but for whatever reason, my defense's RNG when I was testing these counters was so consistently unbelievably shitty. Like, way too often, Khmun and Odin would have 3 to even up to 5 turns in a row on some trials, and my 13% accuracy Odin stole immunity from my Triana over and over and over again, making it impossible for Karkano to defense break him. At any rate, try those teams at your own risk. The only other turn 2 team I'll showcase that performed poorly for me was various versions of Belial Camilla +1, where +1 was the light kitty because she has CC and self-damage reduction when her skill 2 is on cooldown, or Wusa because he's Wusa. The times I won were certainly because one of those 2 units stuck around for a while. The times I lost were mostly because my Khmun would heal block my Camilla without critting her, so she couldn't heal. So even though I had her on a Violent Nemesis plus 42k HP high wind reduction build, she just couldn't last long enough for Belial's skill 2 to get off the cooldown. Not to mention, there's plenty of times where Belial would come back to life but wouldn't take the turn, so he just got immediately killed again. So with all that out of the way, I'll discuss 7 offenses to counter it, all 7 not using Triana, and 3 that are completely free to play. Alright, so for this first counter we have Susano, Konamiya, and Mara the Dark Amazon, which is probably my favorite counter that we'll be showing today because it's completely free to play, works insanely well, and doesn't really need crazy rune quality to do well. You just need to make sure that Mara has sufficient damage to one-shot Odin, your Konamiya outspeeds the Bastet, and that your Susano is just built somewhat efficiently on a decent vampire set. And that's really all it takes. The first thing you'll notice is Konamiya's base speed is garbage, but Bastet's is too, and you have an 11% higher speed lead, so you can kind of compensate for the lack of base speed with the better speed lead. For example, a plus 202 Konamiya will outspeed a plus 201 Bastet, so technically your Swift set still needs to be better, but not that much better, if that makes sense. Mara, I would try to do Rage Blade. You definitely want 100 crit rate since there's no guarantee you crit on a wind unit, so make sure you're at 100 crit rate, and then also do damage dealt on wind for your left side artifacts. That way you can get as much damage as possible on the Odin, because if Odin survives, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Make sure you have sufficient damage on your Mara and that you outspeed, and you should win vast majority of the time. I went 11-1 in testing. The only time I lost was just because Bastet went crazy and killed the Susano. Konamiya can potentially win a 1v1 with Bastet if she's just landing her stuns nonstop. You know, it's kind of a violent proc versus despair war, but it's not really despair runes, it's just the skill one. So if you haven't built the Dark Amazon, give her a shot. She works really well. Well, you had to see this coming. Galleon Tiana Poseidon is just one of the best offenses out there. It beats damn near anything because Poseidon just does a crap ton of damage, can't glance, and decreases attack bar to 0. So it's hard to beat, especially with Tiana's buff being able to automatically crit on her skill 2. It's just nasty. I will say, if you aren't a Poseidon owner, but you still have Tiana, you can build the Light Witch Second Awaken as a good free-to-play alternative. So the Light Witch will deal a crap ton of damage as well and kill Odin in such a way that he can't revive. So I would say as effective as Poseidon, honestly. The main thing is that you have enough damage. With Poseidon, you kind of need accuracy too. So that's one way that you lose. I guess both of them lose if Galleon doesn't do his part. With Linda, you just need sufficient damage really, and should be good at that point. Like even if Linda doesn't have accuracy, the debuffs aren't what's going to win it for you. You just need the damage, and she does hit really hard. So yeah, give it a shot. Galleon, Tiana, Poseidon. If you don't have Poseidon, Galleon, Tiana, Linda works really well. Outspeed, do enough damage, you win. All right, so switching back to a very popular free-to-play one, Garo, Draco, and Khali. In this case, you do have a better base speed and a better speed lead, so it's very easy to outspeed even with lesser rune quality. The main thing is that your Khali has sufficient damage to kill the Odin. Some people do build their Odins tanky, so again, damage dealt on wind just to give you that much more safety that you'll be able to kill the Odin even if Draco doesn't give the attack buff. You don't want to use Khali's skill 3 first, you want to use her skill 2 to kill the Odin and then finish off the Odin with Garo. Now my personal record with this offense isn't that great at only 10-3, but part of that is because my Garo is garbage. My Khali's okay, but my Garo is just really bad. Having not 100 crit rate on Garo is just not okay, because you want to kill that Khmun as quickly as possible. The Khmun is what can kill Garo, and if you're in a 2v2 with Khmun and Bastet versus Khali and Draco, it's iffy, you know? Especially if both the Khmun and Bastet are on Violent, which mine are, so it's tough. My Bastet can actually deal a decent amount of damage. You know, Bastets, if they have some additional damage, that skill 2 can hit hard. Some Bastets even have like decent crit rate and decent attack, you know, because people try to just get as much speed on them. And if your slot 4 and slot 6 speed runes happen to be crit damage attack, well, your Bastet's can be hitting pretty hard. So just look out for that. Bastet landing defense breaks, Khmun, you know, doing a skill 2 and then violent proccing into skill 1 to kill off your Garo. That's basically how you lose. So another thing I would advise is cycling Draco's skill 1 over doing the skill 2 in most scenarios. I think early in the match, doing the skill 2 to get the defense break for Garo to finish off the Khmun is wise, but other than that, you should be using the skill 1 as much as possible to cycle the skill 3 so you can get immunity up, because Bastet's skill 2 is brutal. I mean, that's the defense break and the heal block, that's really messes you up, and the glancing. I mean, the whole skill is just nasty. Anyways, good free to play option with not super high rune requirements, except for, I would say the Garo would be, you need decent runes. All right, so here's another pay to win one. We have Seara, Elucia, and Songseol, the Water String Master. No idea if I'm pronouncing that right. And really, Seara is the only pay to win monster on this team, but I digress. So Elucia, you definitely want Second Awakened, runed relatively well. Seara, I think, has the highest rune requirements. She's just a difficult monster to rune to begin with, since she needs speed, attack, crit rate. She needs everything accuracy. I definitely recommend 100 crit rate so you can cycle turns, because more than likely you're not going to land bombs, or you'll land half the bombs or something like that. Odin is weird and awakens into resistance, so the goal is to bomb the crap out of Odin and kill him twice. And Songseol is used to prevent Bastet from giving buffs, and of course that prevents Odin stacks, so that's really great. I don't know if Bastet's AI is like funky if Songseol decides to do like skill 3, which you will be deciding to do skill 3 every time, but anyways, if she's singing the song or whatever, it seems Bastet would prioritize skill 2 or skill 1 instead of skill 3. So I don't know if the AI is smart like that, or if it just happened to be like that in my testing. Overall, I did count turns as far as what Bastet decided to do on her first turn, and it seems to be about 2/3 of the time she would use her skill 3, and then skill 1 and skill 2 were, you know, half of the 33%. So that's what it seems to be. But like I said, it just happens to be that the Water String Master might change that. At any rate, it seemed to not be significant. It's kind of like Bastet derping anyways, you know, a lot of the time you might have lost, but Bastet derped, so you get the free win anyways, and it kind of like forces her to derp, if that is what it does. So it's good either way, it seems. But yeah, main thing is landing bombs. I feel like if you just miss all your bombs, that'd be like the most trouble you can be in. But for the most part, Elucia provides lots of control. Seara can usually kill the Odin quick enough, and you'll be fine. So Seara, Elucia, Songseol, if you happen to own Seara, highly recommend it. All right, so this next one I'm showing you is probably my least favorite one, because it probably requires the highest rune quality of the bunch, and even with that seemed to not work all that well. The main reason I'm showing it is because it's a free-to-play option that isn't using Triana. And that was kind of my goal with this video, is to find as many options for people as I can that aren't using Triana. And I wanted some free-to-play ones because, you know, people don't own everything. This is Ramahan, Imnesty, and Dozer. You need some decent runes on the Ramahan to get the damage. I will say also max towers is huge. If you don't have max guild flags and max arena towers, that is also very important. Then you'll need even better runes. Imnesty, you need outspeed without a speed lead, so you need to put a good swift set on them. And then even, you know, assuming you did perfect runes, you have enough damage to kill the Odin, you can still very easily lose this 2v3. Khmun is just insane. Bastet, if she has decent accuracy and is landing defense breaks, especially if she lands the defense break on one of the wind units, Khmun kills them so quick, and it's just brutal. So my record with this wasn't too great. I did a bunch of tests, so I didn't want to not show it, and it's not like it can't win. So if you're running low on options and you need to take the tower and they keep spamming Khmun, Bastet, Odin, you have these monsters built. You know, you can move your runes around and attempt it and cross your fingers, but it does seem like a, you know, 75-25 win kind of thing. Unless the runes are just like bad. If the defense is rune bad, you'll probably win, but you know, maybe your runes are bad and your runes are probably bad. That's, you know, your runes are bad. All right, so this next one is not my favorite because it does require really, really good runes and the knowledge that you can outspeed their Bastet. So why I say really good runes is your Lushen needs to be, you know, a typical 100 crit rate fat Lushen, but also speed tuned to your Bastet. In addition, your Bastet needs to outspeed their Bastet. So it's just really challenging to make all that happen. And then on top of all that, you could still lose to a Khmun solo. So I think the only way to combat that is to have a well-runed Mephisto on top of everything, which in my testing, I did not do that. I was kind of getting burned out at this point. So my Mephisto is not even powered up all the way as far as his runes and artifacts goes. He's not max skilled, and he's just on a garbage triple fight set. Despite that, I still had a decent amount of success. All my losses were due to Khmun solos, essentially. I did find after a couple of tests, like I probably could have got a couple more wins if I noticed that I should have been going for Khmun instead of the Bastet. So I do just enough damage to almost kill the Bastet, and Khmun, you know, I'm glancing, he's gonna live. So what I should have been doing is killing the Khmun while he's giving the shield to Bastet, rather than just killing the Bastet right away. And now Khmun is giving him a shield and I can't get through the shields because my Mephisto is garbage. Some of those times I would still win anyways because my Lushen wasn't getting targeted, the Mephisto was getting targeted. So that was just, you know, a 50-50 shot there. But anyways, it's something that can work, but the rune requirements seem too high for it to be viable, on top of, you know, needing the knowledge of, can my Bastet outspeed their Bastet without a speed lead? You can see here, I'm hitting my defense, and so I had to move my Khmun to not be the speed lead here. So my Bastets are, you know, tied as far as speed goes. The defense and offense Bastet are the same Bastet, same exact runes, but ties always go to the offense. So, and if you don't know any of that stuff about speed, I do have a video on speed. Yeah, it's an okay one. Certainly it can have success. It's hard to make happen. All right, for the last one here, guys, we have a mirror match, just Khmun Bastet Odin versus Khmun Bastet Odin. So basically here you just need at least equal runes. Of course, if you have better runes, that's even better, but certainly you want to outspeed, so you need to have at least the same exact speed as the enemy Bastet, because ties always go to the offense. From there, you just need to make sure your Odin is tuned so you don't get cut. Just pro tip, if you don't know if it's possible for you to get cut, just do a mirror match. Go into testing, bring a Khmun Bastet Odin versus Khmun Bastet Odin. If the Bastet cuts your Odin, you are not speed tuned, you need to make your Odin faster. So for me, at a plus 181 Bastet with the 19% speed lead, my Odin needs to be 126. If he's 125, Bastet will cut him. And you can do that math yourself, or you can do a bunch of trial and error, however you want to do it. Summoner's War Optimizer tool is another means of doing it. But anyways, what would often happen is I would kill the Odin and they would just be left with Khmun Bastet, but I would also be left with 2 monsters. Sometimes it'd be 3 monsters, but like Odin on 1 life, and Odin would die eventually, and it'd be Khmun Bastet versus Khmun Bastet, but I'd be at like higher HP, and you know, Khmun does more damage as their HP gets lower. So generally I'd win whatever 2v2 scenario happens. Not always the case. You can see the record, I did have a loss, but for the most part this seemed to do really well for me. I think the big reason why it wins most of those 2v2s is Like Bastet's gonna do her skill 2, which does an AoE defense break, and the defense break is what's gonna determine the targeting. And since she's water, the defense break is unlikely to land on Odin, who awakens into resistance. And so their Odin is going to be targeting my Khmun or Bastet instead of my Odin. And so I'll be left with Khmun Odin or Bastet Odin, whereas they're left with only Khmun and Bastet. So I have a, guaranteed attribute advantage, single target, massive damage, ignore defense nonsense in Odin, So I think that's why it tends to win. For the most part, it seems to do really well. If you want to give it a shot, just know that if you're out ruined, you lose. And some people are okay with that. Some people prefer just knowing like, okay, I got out ruined, so I lose. It's much better than the sour defeat of, oh, they just took 5 turns. Okay, well, that's lame. That's it for me, guys. Hope you enjoyed watching the video. And if you have any particular offense that you like to bring into Khmun, Bastet, Odin, you can leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you use. And I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.